unskilled workforce. And all you needed to be able to do was put a bolt in a hole, or put a nut on a bolt, or attach a wheel. And so that really changed the landscape of workers in the United States. In 1913, the Ford assembly line really made that jump from to the unskilled worker. It also changed the way that we think about machines and people. There's a whole field now of study around ergonomics and the interaction of people and machines, where in the past we didn't have to worry about that as much. How do we create machines so people get less injuries? How do people interact with those machines, especially when you're trying to press fit something, and so all you're doing all day long is grabbing a handle and pulling it down and pressing a couple of parts together. And so the idea that humans and machines now have to interact, and we need to do that in a way that doesn't hurt people, that came out of this whole idea of repetitive activities on the assembly line. Ford came up with, and I can't remember the year, I want to say it's 13, with the $5 a day wage. And most of the literature would suggest he did that because he wanted his own workers to be able to afford to buy a Model T automobile. And that may be true, but there were, if you read a little deeper in the literature, Ford had about a 30% annual turnover after 1913 in workers. That's a huge amount of people that would come to work, learn their job, 30% will leave. You have to train the next group. They come in, they stay for a while, 30% leave. That's a huge turnover in an industry, very expensive. And so the Ford Motor Company sought ways of keeping workers in their job longer so they could take advantage of this unskilled workforce. And it wasn't actually a $5 a day pay. It was $2.50 a day with a $2.50 potential bonus depending on production. Although most people call it the $5 a day pay rate, it actually was $2.50 a day with a $2.50 potential earned based on how many cars they actually produced. The other thing that this whole increase in unskilled labor is that people coming from other countries came here and they were able to do a job. If they weren't skilled in a particular skill, they could go and work at a place like Ford Motor Company and make their $2.50 or $5 a day putting bolts in holes and nuts on the ends of the bolt. And so it attracted unskilled workers from all over the world to come to the United States. So that's a bit of the history of that time period when our cars were built, about 1900 through 1915. I think today we have the earliest cars in 03. We have is the Mitchell in 03 or 04?
Made in 03, it's an 04 model.
So 04 model, it's made in 1903, and there should be we have a 1915 Model Ts there. So we span today on campus from 03 to 15. That's pretty much the whole range of cars that we drive. Let me talk a bit about the club and then we'll be done. Sometimes we forget that of all the wonderful cars people collect throughout the world, only a few represent the beginning of the automobile industry. Most of us who drive these cars, we just love automobiles. And if you went to most of our garages, you would find cars of all sorts of different years. Cars from the 30s, from the 50s. We love cars. But we also love horseless carriages. There's something unique about driving a 100-year-old car. And if you ever get a chance to do that, I would encourage you. It's very fun. The goal of the club is to preserve the originality or restore these automobiles to their original condition. Most of the cars you see out there today, even though they're drivable, they have been restored as close as possible to their original condition, so people can enjoy them as they were built. We like to go driving. That's what we're doing today. We're driving to Glenville and back. Yesterday we drove to Springville, and the day before that we drove up to Badger on the way to Sequoia National Park. We did a little over 100. I think we did 110 miles that day. And so we like to preserve these cars and share their history with others. Our club is defined defines horseless carriage as any gas, steam, or electric vehicle built before January 1st, 1960. So if your car was built in February of 1960, it's too new. You can't. Sorry, you have to join another club. We have about, currently over 8,000 cars listed on our registry, 1915 or earlier, and the years of manufacture run from 1896 to 1915. Membership is open to anybody who's interested in these automobiles. You don't have to own a car to join the club. In the magazine I handed out, there should be an application form. If you are interested in learning more about it, we have a website. Please look us up and learn more about us. We currently have about 4,000 members, and the club began in 1937. Now, it's a national club, but the way things get done is at the regional level. And so there are regional groups all over the United States. I belong to a regional group in Southern California. And the regional groups are the ones that tend to do the heavy lifting. Our group is putting on this tour, and so the regional groups are an important component of making the club viable. There's about 75 regional groups located in about 33 states across the 50 United States. We also have international groups. In fact, this tour we have individuals from Australia and New Zealand with us. And so it's very common that we will go to other countries and tour, and people from other countries will come here and tour with us. So we like that we have an international flavor. We have 13 board of directors. We have a national office in Idaho with a full-time secretary. The board of directors includes an officers, president, vice president, and other sort of officers who do the business of the club. We have our national magazine, the Gazette. This is a really good magazine. We're very lucky to have our editor, John Meyer. He does a great job putting this together every 6 issues a year. We have a website, hcca.org. We have an annual convention that tends to be somewhere every February. Does anyone know where it is next year?
Haven't decided yet.
Haven't decided. It was in Texas this year, right? It was in Texas this year. And national tours and swap meets. So we have a club store where you can buy hats and other things, shirts. Like I said, this Friday and Saturday at the Kern County Fairgrounds in Bakersfield will be one of our annual national swap meets. And so if you're interested, please come down and visit us there. I talked about our Gazette, talked about our website, hcca.org. We have discussion boards and blogs, national tours. This is the 2015 Grizzly Bear Tour. I call it a hub tour because if you think of a wheel, you got the hub at the center of the wheel and spokes going out, and every day we drive like a spoke going out, somewhere coming back, and so we stayed at the same place. That's called a hub tour. My favorite type of tours are progressive tours, where you start in one place and you drive and you drive and you drive and you keep driving, you go to different locations and eventually end up back where you started. Those are the ones I like the most. I think those are the most fun. But this year we're doing a hub tour. Talked about swap meets, regional groups, outreach and education. In fact, is Bill Carpenter doing it? He may be out with his cars. On our website, Bill Carpenter, our last year's president, has put up a whole bunch of videos of owners and cars talking about their cars. And so if you're interested to learn about it, there's probably a dozen or so videos on the website. That's a really neat way to learn more about our cars. This was last year's tour. We were in Clovis, California. We drove up to Shaver Lake. You can see in the lower hand corner, there were about 15 cars last year. Some of the same cars that are here this year were headquartered. We're participating in last year's tour, which is out of Clovis. I think next year we're going to do our tour out of Salinas, California. We like to drive up in the mountains. This is me driving my 1910 Perry, which is out in the parking lot. This is up north of Kernville on the way to the giant sequoias. We got to the place where the road had so much snow that they had to clear the road, so we had to turn around. But that was a lot of fun. Driving up in the snow between Kernville and the giant sequoias up in the mountains. Some of the characteristics of our cars: they can be as small as 1 cylinder and as large as 12. Is there anything? Does anyone know? Do we have anything larger than 12 prior to 15? I don't think so. I think 12 is the biggest. Could be wrong. I think it was Pearson. Yeah.
It was a 16.
But I don't know if they were made before 1915.
No.
Yeah, there is a 16. You're right. But before 1915 or earlier, I think the Pierce Arrow had the 12 cylinder in 1915. Packard did?
Twin six.
Packard did, okay. So I knew it was one of these feats. 1 cylinder to 12 cylinders, 1 passenger to 12 passenger, mid-engine to front engine. I don't think we have any mid-engine cars with us today. I think we only have front engine cars. Wood wheels or steel, it's a steel wheels, chain drive. You'll see some chain drives out there. Most of the cars are shaft drive. So there's a variety of characteristics that define the machines that we drive. This is a 1908 1-cylinder REO. It's 8 horsepower chain drive automobile. It drives about 20-25 miles an hour. It seats 2 people, 2-speed automobile. Even by 1908, there were bigger cars being produced. There was a market for people who wanted to buy a very small, simple car. That certainly is simple. This is a 1910 Buick Model 19. It's a 4-cylinder car, 35 horsepower shaft drive, 3-speed selective transmission with 5 seating for 5 people. So a variety of characteristics, and you can, when you go out today to look at the cars on the quad there, you'll see a variety of designs. So let's go outside and have a hands-on discussion of the brassier cars. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have before we head out. Again, thank you for having us here. If you got in late and did not pick up a magazine, come see me. Are there any questions before we all stand up? Yes, sir.
Were those the most dangerous cars?
What's that one?
Were those the most dangerous cars built? Like accident-wise?
Dangerous?
Yeah.
I don't, the cars are pretty safe. We don't have many accidents. All right, we'll see you out by the car.